What's up, Eagles Nation? Welcome to, we already played our game for week 7, but welcome to week 7 of the NFL season. And the Eagles, of course, got a win. They found a way, somehow, some way, they found a way to beat the Giants as they seem to enjoy doing in recent time. That's 8 straight wins, if I remember correct, against the Giants. And you know, listen, the Peterson Wentz connection is still undefeated on Thursday Night Football since both of them have been here, and that's a positive. A couple positives you can take away from it. Was the game pretty? No, it wasn't. It didn't look good when the Giants scored. When Shepard scored that touchdown, late in the fourth quarter, and you figure, okay, well, the way this season's going to this point, it's not looking good. But somehow, some way, they persevered. I think it was really important. They got a quick score after that, a touchdown after that play, after the Giants scored. And then, of course, look, the Ingram drop was huge. But how many times has an Eagle receiver dropped a big pass so far this season, right? It's nice to see the other team do it in a crucial moment. And then, of course, they get the ball back, and before you know it, it's Carson Wentz to Boston Scott, who always scores against the Giants, and the Eagles managed to get a win. And 2-4-1 still doesn't look good, but in this division, it's still good enough for first place. Witnessing that Dallas game the other night against the Cardinals, I think they're going to have their issues the rest of the season. The Giants look a little, a little better than what they were to start the season, but they still have a lot of issues. They're just a team that, they just seem to get in their own way at this point, and I do think they compete better with their new head coach, their Judge. I think, getting the best out of the talent that they have, and losing Saquon was still a huge loss for them this season. And listen, a game like Thursday night, they could have used them. But listen, the Eagles, not for nothing, with all these injuries that the Eagles have, and the fact that yet again, I feel bad for the guy, I really do. But Deshaun, of course, comes back, and towards the end of the game, he's out there for a punt return, and gets cheap shotted, and he's on the IR now with a high ankle sprain, I believe. So he's going to miss some time. But I'll tell you, I like this group. And for whatever reason, Carson just seems to play better with these young, unproven wide receivers, either rookies or practice squad guys. It's amazing. When you go, and they showed all the stats in that game. When you go back and look at what this season has been, the Eagles have lost more players to injury than any team in the league. They've started more variations of starting offensive lines than any other team in the league. And yet, what's the one constant? Number 11. He's been the quarterback. And he's been hit more than any other quarterback in the league. He's taken more sacks. He does tend to hold on to the ball too long. I know it's that bugaboo. I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's something that it's just going to be there. But I'll say this. The guy finds ways to win games. It amazes me with all these injuries, with all this inconsistency, with the problems at time the defense has. It amazes me that this guy still finds ways. And you know what? That's a good characteristic to have. He's a winner. And I know he's gotten hurt in his career, and he hasn't been able to finish seasons at times. They won a Super Bowl without him, although he was a huge reason why they had the record they did. He was the league MVP if he didn't get hurt. And I know there's been a lot of, agita over the past few years, right? There's been a lot of, why are we losing this? He's making mistakes. He's holding the ball too long. The inaccuracies at times. He leads the league in interceptions this year, which really hasn't been his MO coming into the season. And for whatever reason, this year has been more interceptions. Now, you can also look at that as, yeah, he's made some bad passes, but he does have younger receivers. Maybe the route running isn't as crisp. The ball's, there's supposed to be a spot where the ball is, and, not quite there. It gets intercepted. Again, not using it as an excuse, but you can kind of see somewhat the reasons why. Um, but nonetheless, with all of that, this team is still in position at this stage of the season, with the way the other teams are, what their records are, to fight for a division championship and to make the playoffs again. And that to me is just it, it's amazing. It really is when you and I say that because listen, you see the problems that some other teams have when they start dealing with injuries, right? You see the issues that's going on, and I know they lost their franchise quarterback, but you saw the issues the other night, Sunday night against or Monday night it was that the Cowboys had on offense, right? And they have a ton more talent than the Eagles do on offense. You look at the position players that they have. Tight end, I think, favors the Eagles when they got guys in there healthy with Ertz and Goddard. But you look at the wide receivers, you look at the running game, you look at what they have there, and it's just not. It isn't there. It doesn't matter. And we'll see how things go as the season progresses. I would imagine Dalton might be a little better as the season progresses, but still, they're a team right now that seems to be doing a lot of infighting, a lot of finger pointing. It's like a few things go wrong there and they just crumble and fall apart. And you saw that last season. Not just this season, last season when they had all those guys healthy, including their starting quarterback, how they fell apart. Even with more talent on the team, certainly on the offensive side of the ball, and what the Eagles finished with. The Eagles just have this like intestinal fortitude with them. And they had it even before they won the Super Bowl, right? Leading up to that run to the Super Bowl. And they've certainly had it in the years since. And listen, they had to. Because with all the injuries that they've had to deal with over the past few years, with everything that's kind of gone wrong, to kind of, put a team together, tear a team apart, I should say, including last season with the Alshon Jeffrey, this report, that report, everything. And yet they still find a way. At the end of the day, at the end of the season, they're division champs. They're in the playoffs. And teams with more talent than them aren't. So I think that says a lot about the character on this team. I think it says a lot about the coach. I really do. And Doug hasn't had a great year. Calling plays and making mistakes, not getting the challenge flag out quick enough against the Giants on a key situation where the Giants then later were going for a touchdown. It hasn't been a great year for Doug, but the team still plays hard. He still gets the most out of the players that he has on the field, even dealing with all the injuries, with the makeshift offensive line, with the revolving door at wide receiver and the running back now going out. The starting running back, Miles Sanders, has been out. Gain the most out of the players that are on the field, and that says a lot about a coach, and that says a lot about those players that are on the field. And like I said, I like this young wide receiver core. I'd still like to see what they have in Rager. Hopefully he comes back and is an impactful player this season. But I like what I'm seeing out of those young receivers. And they're guys that, you talk about how many years in a row it's been the underdogs, right? And that's what it is. But these receivers are playing with the chip on their shoulder because they're young, they're inexperienced. Other teams kind of gave up on, in Fulgham's case, he's been given up on by a few organizations, and including the Eagles earlier in his career. And he is balling out, and this team is playing with a lot of passion, and you see that. I mean, making that comeback against the Giants. I mean, you're down 11 points with like 6 minutes and change to go, and your offense is really not looking like it's doing much since the first drive of the game, and all of a sudden, boom, there it goes, touchdown, get the ball back, touchdown. It's hard to do. It's hard to do, regardless of where you're playing, home or away, what the situations are. But the Eagles found a way to do it, and you can say, well, the Giants are what they are, and maybe that might be the case. But still, you still got to make the plays. You still got to you still got to get in the end zone, and the Eagles did so, and they did so after a penalty, after a horrendous face mask penalty on a veteran in Jason Kelsey. And the next thing you know, Next play, it's Boston Scott in the end zone on a tremendous pass by Wentz. Tremendous pass. And we've seen him make pass. And that's the thing that's the most maddening with him sometimes. It's like you see some of these touch passes that he makes. We all remember the one he made last year in Washington on the Miles Sanders touchdown where he thread the needle. I mean, I don't know if there's many other quarterbacks that even try to make that pass that he made last year against Washington. And now this beautiful touch pass to Boston Scott for the game winner that proved to be the game winning score of the game. And then you see these times where he misses wide open receivers or throw a bad interception, and it's maddening. But it goes with it goes with the position, and we're not the only fan base that's sitting here saying things about the quarterback. But I will say this, and I know I've stuck up for him over the years, and I still want to believe that he can be the guy going forward, and I think he should be the guy going forward. I know Jalen Hurts is there, and he's thrown in for a few plays here and there, and sometimes I just shake my head when I see that, because sometimes it's like Doug brings him in after Wentz just makes a good play, and he'll take Wentz out to put Hurts in there for a play, for like a run of 2 yards. It's like, really? Do we need this at this stage of the game in this situation? I don't know. But what I do know is I'll take the win. 22-21 against the Giants. And I know that I was unable to do the recap of a week ago against Baltimore, and we know about that game and how they're at the end they were chasing points that maybe they shouldn't have. I mean, if Doug goes for the extra point after the first touchdown instead of the 2-point conversion there, which failed, it might be a different situation at the end of that game. And it's been talked to death at this point. But I will say echo the sentiments of a decent amount of Eagle fans in saying that it was a tough loss. The Ravens did not have a great game, and they still found a way to win. It's a shame we lost that game, but you know what? The Eagles showed a lot of fight. And how many teams are going to come back like that on that defense? Down 17 points to make it a game. And it was amazing to me with young receivers and not a lot of experience on the field, and yet here they are, making plays against a good defense and having a chance for a win at the end. I mean, it came down to a 2-point conversion, and the Eagles were not able to succeed. As we know, it was a play call that, left kind of shaking the head a little bit. But I liked how this team fought. It didn't surprise me. It just did not surprise me because this is what they do. It's rare for this team with Peterson as the head coach, with Wentz as a quarterback, that they're going to get blown out. It's rare. It happens. I mean, we've seen it. We all remember the Minnesota game, right? Last season in Minnesota. I mean, there's been games where they've looked horrendous, and but it's very rare that happens. And even when this team loses, it's like they lose these close games. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, or the first game they never should have lost that game, but they lose to Washington. The Rams game was close. So like their 4 losses, you can point to different parts in all those games and say, well, they could have won. There was this play that could have been made or that play that could have been made, and they could have won. But you know what? At the end of the day, you are what you are, and the record is what it is. And at this point, it's 2-4-1. It's not a great record by any stretch of the imagination, but I would rather be, coming off a win against the Giants than what it could have been and what it looked like it was going to be after Shepard scored that touchdown, 5-1, and where's this even in a bad division, where's this season going to go? But you're left with that game knowing that they could have there were more opportunities in that game. They kind of, weren't able to make some plays. The Giants did. Then again, and you see Danny Jones running for that long touchdown and kind of tripping over himself. that was something. But again, at the end of the day, it was the Giants that made the big mistake on the Ingram drop pass, or on what could have been the big conversion downfield, and that would have pretty much ended the game. But sometimes, hey, you need that. Sometimes you need to get a break here and there. And how many times are we able to say that this season, right? God, if we could just get this break or that break and be in a better chance to get a win, well, we were given that opportunity. The Eagles were given that opportunity on Thursday night, and they took advantage of it. It's one thing for Ingram to drop the pass. It's another thing for Ingram to drop the pass and the Eagles get the ball and you have to go in and actually score the touchdown, which they still needed a touchdown to win the game, and that's exactly what they got. But as I was saying, I wasn't able to do a post game vid or a pre game vid for this week leading up to. I thought about it. My buddy Big Slim was here. Spent some time here, and it was a good time. Hanging out with a buddy, and we watched the Ravens game here, and then we watched the Giants game here on Thursday night, and of course, both games, you feel different after both games, and it's funny because when Shepard scored that touchdown, late in the fourth quarter, both of us just had this disgusted looks on the face. We're cursing things out. He's starting to pack his stuff together because he was going to leave that night, packing his stuff together. I had the black Wentz jersey. I took the jersey off. I played the glass. We watched the end of it. But it was such a frustrating feeling after Shepard scored that touchdown, and it went from that to just this jubilation at the, oh my God, we found a way to win this game. How the heck did that happen? Maybe the Eagles are in the Giants' heads at this point. You would think, right? 8 straight wins. Maybe they got some property up there for the Giants, I think. and we've seen it. We've seen it with teams too. With when we've had trouble in this town beating certain teams, and then one bad thing happens, and then it's like an avalanche after that. It's like, oh, well, here we go. So we know the feeling, believe me. But it was nice to get that win, because God knows we needed it after the past few weeks. And they found a way. And at the end of the day, it's like I said, I mean, it's not the Eagles' fault what's going on in the division. They can only handle their own business and play their games. They can't handle what Dallas is or isn't doing, or what the Washington football team is and isn't doing, what the Giants, what they do or don't do. You can only take control of what you're doing, what this team is doing, how they got to play week to week. And look, the next 2 games are winnable games. I mean, you got a Dallas team coming in, and who knows what they're going to look like this week against Washington. And even if they win that, I mean, it's against Washington. It's even going to be hard to say, even if they win that game, they found something, because they did against Washington. Who's kind of in flux themselves. They're figuring out who their quarterback's going to be. Or if they lose that game. I mean, either way, it's like the Eagles should be favored next Sunday night against Dallas, and I would hope they win that game. And maybe they start getting some guys back. I don't know what Miles Sanders' situation is, but if they can get him back, or at least Dallas Goedert. I know Ertz is still going to be some weeks away, and as with Djax, I mean, Alshon, I just don't expect to see at all, and I would actually prefer not to see him at all, to be honest, the rest of the way, because I like these young receivers. I like the fight that they give week to week. And like I said, I want to see Rager. I want to see what he's about when he comes back from injury. And we'll take it from there. But it would be good to start getting some guys back and them not playing again until next Sunday night. Maybe that gives the opportunity for some guys to come back, but we'll see. Obviously, after that game is a bye week, and then, well, here come the Giants again. This time, of course, in the Meadowlands. And we'll see. But the next 2 games, even at 2-4-1, I would say the next 2 games are winnable games, and they got to take advantage of it. We knew going into this stretch, into this 3-game stretch, home for the Giants, home for Dallas, at the Giants. Got to find a way to win all 3. At very worst, 2-1 after those 3 games, right? Now, the Baltimore game, like I said, I thought maybe they had a chance to win it, and as it turns out, they did. They did have a chance to win that game, but they didn't. They didn't. And I thought that would be a very important game going into the stretch after that game of the 3 winnable, games, in interdivision games. Now, obviously, as we know, they lost that game by 2 points. We can take heart at how they played. They came back in that game. They showed fight. They showed character. They showed heart. Those type of things, though. Look, I mean, you don't win you don't win the game, and it's like how do you really feel? How can you really feel about it? You can take positives away from losses sometimes just based off how the team's playing, how they kind of come together within a game. But it was still a tough loss, and again, it made it tough because it was a winnable game against Baltimore. Baltimore did not play their best game, and the Eagles just couldn't take advantage of it. They made too many mistakes, and they lost the game. But then this Thursday night, look, I mean, they were making mistakes, but so too were the Giants. But still, I mean, the Giants go up by 11 points. You're thinking that could be all she wrote for the game, but it wasn't. This team would not allow it, and Carson had a heck of a last couple drives there, and just did his thing, and the Eagles found a way to get a win. And again, it's just sometimes you just gotta find ways to win. As much as we say, well, they found a way to lose this game, well, they found a way to win a game. And I think we could take heart with that and say, okay, well, is the record great? No, but in this division, it's good enough. And you just you just gotta find ways. You gotta win. You gotta overcome. And regardless of what happens, if you win the division, you're in the playoffs. You're hosting a playoff game. And at the end of the day, I'd still rather see that than not. And I know what happened last season, and you win a iffy division, and then they play the Seahawks, and Wentz gets cheap shot by Clowney out of the game, and how that went. And even though it was a home game, it ended up being a loss. But I'd still rather get there because it's still better to see your team in the playoffs and extending the season than not. So would I rather see the Eagles in the playoffs again this year? Absolutely. Plus I don't really trust Howie in the draft. So having an early first round pick, I don't know if that's going to really amount to much. That's tough how he's drafted in recent years. But that being said, I like I said, I'd rather see them in the playoffs and because you never know what can happen. You just never know. I mean, look, right now, there's a lot of teams that are better than them. There's a lot of teams that, you would pick ahead of the Eagles to get to Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. But, you get in and you just never know. I mean, teams play a certain type of way. Who knows what can happen? You get on a roll and you just never know sometimes. So I'd still rather see them in than not. But at the same time, they have a lot of work to do. And even though these next two games, I would say, are winnable games, you still got to win the games. They still got to find a way to win them. And we're going to have to wait and see. Now, I've always said, and I will always say, it's a week-to-week deal. I don't look too far ahead. I don't look too far back. You can't do anything about the games that happened. But now it's about what the games that are in front of you. And we're going to have to wait a bit to see them again. Playing on a Thursday night means you got to wait till the next week. And as it is, it's next Sunday night. So it's not just waiting till next week. It's waiting till past all those other Sunday games and finally getting the another primetime game, which the Eagles are very good in primetime. The Eagles over the years have done really good playing, in front of the nation. They have a good winning record on primetime football. So next Sunday night is another primetime game, and on NBC. So we'll see how it goes. Was it pretty? No. I mean, were there mistakes made? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you still come away with a 1-point win, a needed game, a needed win. In a division against a division rival, and that division record could be a tiebreaker too at the end. So they already were 0-1 against Washington. So getting that win was big because now you're 1-1 in your division, and if you can win the next two, you're 3-1 in your division. That's still looking pretty good. That's still looking pretty good. And oh, by the way, then you can even things up with the tie. you would be 4-4-1 after those. After the next couple of games, but we'll see. You have to play Dallas first. Let's deal with that game next week, and then we'll see what happens after that. So okay, Eagles Nation, listen, it is what it is. There's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of, question marks still around the team. But the one thing I don't think you can say is a question mark is their resilience. They just find a way. It amazes me. It probably amazes them. How they can still overcome more injuries than any team in the league. And again, this week, right? Lane Johnson again, D-Jax. It's just every week, just guys are either getting carted off or limping off or being helped off. Or it amazes me. It just does. But they still find a way. And like I said, I like this receiving core. I really like Fulgham. He's a guy that he competes, and I like that. Same thing with Ward Jr. I mean, they both compete out there. Hightower, he's a rookie. He's had some big drops, but he's also made some nice plays. He made a nice play that led to the touchdown, right? The late score. He competes, and I think that's what you need. And I think for whatever reason, it's like Carson just seems more comfortable and confident with with this group of receivers than if there was a veteran in there, and maybe there's something to be said about that, but it just seems to be that's how it is. Now, that being said, you still want to see Dallas Goedert come back, Zach Ertz come back, Miles Sanders come back, D-Jax maybe late in the season. Like I said, I don't want to see Alshon. Alshon he can stay off the field this season. But D-Jax maybe by the end of the season comes in, maybe, who knows, you can't really count on him to stay healthy, but still would be a welcome, addition, and Rieger as well. So there's still a lot of weapons out there that are to come back before the end of the season, barring any big-time setbacks. And, we'll see. Like I said, hopefully maybe even starting next week, or certainly after the bye, after next week. So, good win. It was unexpected. With about 6 minutes to go, they found a way. They got it done. And look, like I said, I'd rather have the 2 wins now than still the 1. So, and I'll take it. And anytime you beat the Giants, those New Yorkers, it's a good thing to watch them get frustrated. And boy, it is tough sledding this season in New York with football. Oh, 1 win between those 2 teams. Oh. Well, we'll see. That's their problem, right? We know that's their problem. So they can just, worry about themselves over there. It's not perfect. There's still things that need to be tightened up, and they need to get better in certain aspects. I know the trade deadline's coming up. There's a couple guys out there that could help this team. There's some linebackers out there that could help this team. Wide receiver wise, I think we're okay. And saying that 2 weeks ago, there's no way I would have said this. But now seeing how they've looked, I think we're okay at wide receiver. I know Antonio Brown went to it's like everybody's going to the Bucs, right? The Bucs are playing fantasy football. They're just bringing in whoever they want to bring in. I guess who else could be going there, right? It's like name another impactful offensive player who could be traded. It'd probably be to the Bucs, right? They're just playing fantasy football there in Tampa Bay, but we'll see. But I do think there's players out there who could be available, and I don't think you have to give up too much. And maybe a draft pick or something. But if it's a way to improve this defense in the linebacking core, maybe another safety, maybe another corner. It's up to Howie to do it. He has been asleep at the wheel, as we know, in recent time. But it's up to him, too. There are players that could be difference makers out there for this team, and you wouldn't have to give up too much to get those players. And I would hope that he does it. I would even say another running back. I would even say a bigger, kind of running back. I don't know if you get on the horn with Tampa and say, hey, Leonard Fournette, what's he doing there? Maybe we can get him, maybe give up a pick or something. I wanted Leonard Fournette as a free agent, to be honest. And the Eagles didn't do it, and I see they're not really using him in Tampa, so he's fresh. So maybe Howie can get on the phone with Tampa and make that move, or something else. Like I said, I think this team does need some help in certain areas. I'm leaning more defensive needs than offensive needs at this point. But like I said, another running back I don't think would hurt them. To shore up that position a little more. But to me, if I were looking at, it, I would look linebacker. I would look safety. I would look another corner. Those are the type of needs that I would go. Defensive line, I think they're fine, and they have enough depth there that I think they will be fine. But there's some players that could be out there in the linebacker position, maybe a safety, maybe a corner. Maybe if you can get a guy or two in those different positions. And again, it doesn't have to be a huge splash move because a lot of those big splash moves never really pan out anyhow, right? So but you just want to get a good, consistent player, and from a team that might be looking for draft picks going forward after the season. So anyhow, that's my take on the past couple games. I know I talked a little more about the Giants game. But again, it's been a kind of interesting week with the Eagles, I would say. I mean, the woulda, coulda, shouldas with the Ravens, and it's in a way it's like a gift, but you take it against the Giants. The Ingram drop was huge, but you take it because we've seen enough drops this season with our receiving core, to know what that's about, right? So you take it, you get a win, and I don't care who you beat, I don't care what the end score is. This team needs wins. And bad division or not, you still need wins. And they got one on Thursday night. Again, undefeated on Thursday night with Peterson and Wentz. But they got a good win. And now we move on to next Sunday night against Alice because there's still no D there. But I think Kyler Murray just scored again on Dallas, getting when he was leaving the stadium. That was fun. The Festive enjoyed watching that one too. So anyhow, speaking of Festive, it is the weekly Festive Four. Now last week Festive went 3-1, and the record for Festive is now 14-6. That's pretty good. Okay, going into this week's play, week 7. Of course, never really worry about the Thursday night game. It is what it is. But the score, these are the 4-pack of winners that Festive believes will have this week in week 7, and we're going to start with a good game, Las Vegas and Tampa Bay, and Pistol will be proud of this because Festive likes the Rays to beat the Buccaneers, the Tampa Bays in that game, and get a win there. Festive likes for Buffalo to bounce back. I know it's been kind of a rough ride for the Bills in the past couple weeks, but they're playing the Jets this week. So Festive's going with the low-hanging fruit this time for this game. So Festive's going Buffalo over the Jets. Festive also likes Green Bay to bounce back. And listen, Aaron Rodgers is probably angry. And it's not good to play an angry Aaron Rodgers, right? So Festive likes Green Bay over Houston. And Festive, to round it off, also likes the Los Angeles Chargers to get a win over those Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the Festive Four. So again, in recap, Festive likes the Las Vegas Raiders against Tampa Bay. Okay, Tampa Bay. Festive also likes Buffalo over the Jets, the low-hanging fruit there, but yes. Green Bay over Houston and the Chargers over the Jaguars. That is it for the Festive Four for Week 7. Festive looks to keep the winning ways going. We're hoping the Eagles can continue the winning ways next Sunday night against Dallas. I'll be back before that game, break it down a little bit. We'll see how they play this week, what goes on in that wonderful game that's going to be played against Alice and Washington. We'll see how that game goes. But, hey, win's a win. Eagles got it done on Thursday night. They continue their ownership against the New York Football Giants. Now, Danny Dimes is now 0-2 lifetime against the Eagles. Again, picking up right where Eli left off. It's good to see. You know what? He looked like Eli at the end of that run. I mean, Eli's not running for 80 yards. And Slim made a good comment. He said he doesn't think Eli Manning ran for 80 yards in his career versus the Eagles. So Danny Dimes with that run and that kind of stumble and fall. That stumble and fall is kind of, it reminded us of Eli there at the end. Of that. Oh, we miss him. We miss Eli Face around here. But at any rate, Eagles got the win. It was good to see. It didn't look like it was going to be good to see there after the Shepherd score, but they found a way to get it done. Give them credit, right? Got the win. We move on now to Week 8 next week. We have to wait a ways to see them again until next Sunday night. But in our primetime game, they're good in primetime. So we'll see if that trend continues. We'll see if they can get some guys back from the injury list. We'll see. I think you can take some positives away from Thursday night, and you build on it, hopefully. All right, everyone, take care. Let's go Birds! Let's keep this winning thing going, and we'll see what happens next Sunday night. I'll be back, though, before the game here on the Season of the Fan series, trying to break it down a little bit. We'll do another Festive Four, of course, before next Sunday's action. All right, everyone, take care. Thanks for watching. Be safe out there, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.